We're in Way Media.
Hello, Twisted Humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia. And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello, and welcome to your favorite podcast, Twisted and Uncorked. We are on episode 160, and my little intro says, lately, I have been really proud of our podcast friends for getting into investigative journalism. That's the right term. And it was my turn to cover an unsolved case, so I wanted to jump on helping our friend Jen Riviera at the Unseen Truth podcast and her mission to get this specific case a little bit more coverage. It's also one that I've never heard. I don't know if Sierra's ever heard it, so it seemed perfect to cover it on our platform. That said, I'm covering an unsolved disappearance of a 14-year-old boy who was on vacation with his family in Aruba. Some very shady events occur, and not knowing, I can imagine, is incredibly hard for his family and experiencing all of the aftermath. So, like I said, we're going to dive deep. But first, Sierra, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do. Have we talked about soft-serve ice cream as a fun fact?
No, we've talked about soft serve ice cream as your number one love in life, but that's a separate.
How have we never talked about it as a fun fact? I
don't know.
I don't get. Okay, so fun fact. Soft serve ice cream was invented accidentally. So Tom Carvel
Thank you, Tom
is
Carvel.
the person who invented Carvel ice cream. It's like a whole, brand place. He was a Greek immigrant who traveled to America and wanted to sell ice cream. He lived in New York. He had an ice cream truck at the Memorial Day parade in New York. He was walking around. This is 1934. Okay, Memorial Day, 1934. He's walking around pushing driving his little ice cream truck, right? And at this time, all ice cream is hard frozen ice cream. But his truck got a flat tire, and the ice cream started melting.
No.
He left to go get tools to fix it, came back, and all the ice cream was melty.
Sir.
And everybody still wanted ice cream. And they're like, what is this new soft ice cream? And he was like, oh, here, have some. And they loved it. And that's how fucking soft serve ice cream was invented. After that, he decided to open up a place where he perfected the soft serve of the ice cream.
I was gonna say, he's not trying to give you food poisoning with slightly melted hot ice cream.
He perfected it. But it
well,
was
I take this man because soft serve is my favorite. So
yeah, that's a happy little accident right there.
Yeah, right. I'll take it. You recently had a soft serve place open near you.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And Sierra's in trouble, guys. I'm not gonna say where it is because but she can thank that person.
Yeah. But
if you know,
God, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I love soft serve ice cream, and it's officially hot and summery enough that I just want it all the time. Me and Kevin actually bought ice cream cones because something about a soft serve ice cream cone is just really good, but it's cheaper to get it in a cup. So I've been getting cups and then scooping it into a cone for him and I. So gotta save money any way you can and still have that summer experience. So
the place here that opened up that has soft serve ice cream also has everything. You can get regular, you can get Italian ice, you can get mix and match. It has
Italian ice.
Kind of like a snow cone, but it's more blended.
Okay. I was thinking gelato when you said Italian ice. So.
They have that also. Okay. It's very similar.
They're just all of the things. All right.
Yes, they have everything, basically. Okay. And a bunch of different specialty things. And every time we go, I ask the kids, honestly, it's been way too many fucking times. I go a lot. But every
You're
time
like,
we
do
go,
you
I
guys
ask
want
the
ice cream?
kids.
You've been so
Yeah.
good. Mommy wants ice cream.
I'm like, what are you guys gonna get this time? Because there's all this new stuff. And every time Bubba's like, I want vanilla in a cone. And Sissy's like, I want chocolate in a cup. And I'm like, you guys aren't gonna try anything new? Like they have so much. And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool, because I'm getting my swirl in a cone also. Like that's all I want. Like we don't have to try anything new.
I'm
We
gonna
know what we
shame
like.
you
Okay.
for not doing it, but also I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, it's too
Listen,
good.
you never settle a definite for a maybe. Just saying.
Yeah. What is your fun fact?
My fun fact brings us back to this week's case, and my fun fact is about Aruba. There's a language there called Papiamentu, which is a Creole language that blends elements of Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, English, and French with little bits of African and Arakan languages, which is wild because
Yeah.
usually all languages are like little babies of each other and little influences of each other. But Aruba is known for being very multicultural, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Gosh, if you know how to speak that, man,
I was
you're gonna
like,
be really
when I
smart.
found that fun fact, I was like looking through like phrases and like breaking it down of like what came from what language, and I was like,
Yeah.
I barely know how to speak English, guys, so
Right. It sounds like you would have to know all of those languages to be able to speak that one. That's a lot of
or at
language.
least like another one of those languages. I
Yeah.
speak very little Portuguese and very little Spanish, and even some of those phrases, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what
That's
that
crazy.
means. So I'm gonna stay in my lane, but the more power to you. And we are trending in certain countries for downloads right now, so I'm not gonna discriminate, specifically Indonesia and Slovakia. So what up? Thank you for
Neat.
listening and charting our podcast. We appreciate it. I don't know what that means still, but every time I see it, I'm like, yes. The last one was India. So,
It means we hit the charts.
woohoo. Yeah, we're excited. Thank you so much for listening. Go leave those 5-star reviews. It means a lot and it helps others find us. But this story, like I said, is a little bit sad and incredibly frustrating. So naturally, I wrote glass of wine. That's not true. Glass of wine to cope with what we are about to discuss. So we are back on our white wine this week, and today I am sipping on a Portuguese white wine. I am really on a kick lately with Portugal wines. I know I just did a red, but we're here. So this one is an Avlida Fonte Vino Verdes, which is a perfect summer wine. This particular one is a white blend, and this varietal in particular is fresh, light-bodied with a hint of citrus. Now, Vino Verdes means green wine, but directly translates to mean young wine, which means that the wine itself is made from grapes that were harvested within 3 to 6 months. So, young grapes, like
Right.
very tart, very like sharp notes, which in the summer is great. So, wanted to feature it today. I like it. It can actually be a Vino Verde is not like a varietal in itself. This particular one is a Portuguese white blend. So you can have that variety for red, white, and rosé. Like they can do it for all of them. It just means that they're harvested early, which I thought was really interesting because when I first bought the wine, I thought that that was a varietal of wine because, we learn every day and I'm still learning myself. So I thought that was really cool. I
Yeah.
like it. I'm going to rate it at, I'm really not like a citrusy tart, like on the nose girl. I like it to be either a little bit sweeter, a little bit smoother. So I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. But yeah, so this week we are going to hear a quick break before we get into this case. I already know Sierra's not drinking anything based on what she told me earlier, so I'm not interrupting her and being rude, guys. She's got water.
I do.
So we are going to take a quick break to hear a promo from our friend Chrissy over at Residue, a true crime podcast. And we will be right back. So, welcome back. So, we have heard the name Natalie Holloway many times in true crime, but we may have never heard the name Max DeVries. And we are here to change that, hopefully. It has been 20 years since his disappearance from Aruba, and his family deserves answers. So, Max DeVries was born on April 18th, 1990, to parents George and Yvonne, and he had a younger sister named Dominique, who was born 2 years later. The family lived in Brighton, Michigan, which was a small, affluent town with all the neighbors kind of having their own kids, and they all kind of looked out for each other's kids, which was really nice. Yvonne and George felt safe here and knew that their kids were okay while they were outside playing, that other parents were looking out for their kids. And the family themselves liked being outside in nature, especially on the water. They shared this love, and from a young age, Max was taught how to man boats, sails, jet skis, basically anything that would bring him out on the water, which is important to note for later. Max was an incredibly kind and smart kid. He was witty, he had lots of friends, and was very close to his younger sister. And on November 10th, 2002, his father, George, suddenly suffered a heart attack and died. The family was beside themselves, and it happened so quickly, but of course, there was immense grief felt by all of them. I can only imagine the challenge that it was for Yvonne to go from being a stay-at-home mom with her kids to having to pick up the pieces and be the sole provider literally overnight. Takes some serious strength. In May of 2004, Yvonne planned a trip along with her sister-in-law, Pat, for the kids to go on a trip to Aruba. It was a much-needed trip and something that would hopefully bring the family together and provide some healing for them for the loss that they had suffered. They stayed right on the water at the La Caba Resort, which was absolutely stunning. It was huge. There was lots for them and the kids to do. Yvonne planned multiple excursions for the family on the water, and the kids got along with the other kids with their families at the resort, so everyone was having a really good time. Max had expressed interest in finding a pool table on the resort and wanting to learn how to play. And one morning, serendipitously enough, when Yvonne went downstairs and was walking through the lobby, she heard a man in his mid-30s ask the front desk for pool balls. So she walked over to him and was like, "Hey, where did you get those? Where's there a pool table in the resort? Let me know." He told Yvonne that it was on the second floor lobby and where to go. She thanked him and they went on with their day. The next day, she and Max went to find the pool table, and she saw that same man there playing with who appeared to be his father. Their names were David Russell Stacy Sr. and Jr. Not confusing at all. So I called them David Sr. and Jr. throughout the story, just so everyone's aware, because that's a long ass name.
Yeah, and they're all first names.
Yeah.
So, what the fuck?
You know what we say about never trusting a man with 3 first names, guys.
Yeah.
Yvonne encouraged Max to join in and play with David Jr. He's like, "You want to learn how to play? Cool, go play. I'm going to stand here and hang out while you enjoy yourself." Max and David Jr. played a game of pool together, while David Sr. and Yvonne watched and just kind of chatted with each other. Now, this seems like a weird dynamic. This man that her son is playing with is in his mid-30s, and she is obviously like a mom, and his dad is standing with her. So I just want to make the picture really clear here, because it
Right.
feels weird, and I'm going to play devil's advocate throughout, but I need to share my feelings up front. Because Sierra's going to share her feelings throughout as a parent, so...
So far, I mean, I can see how it would feel weird if I was the parent of the kid, but at the same time, I can picture Jesse playing pool with somebody else's 10-year-old kid. So
yes, like as a parent, you're like, I love kids, let me show them how to play pool.
Yeah.
Max and David Jr. played a game together while David Sr. and Yvonne watched and kind of talked with each other. Yvonne learned a strange fact that David Sr. and Jr. were there celebrating the anniversary of their adoption being finalized, as he said that he adopted David Jr. at a young age, although he did not specify when. He just said that it was the anniversary of it. So put a pin in that. Yvonne told David Sr. that they were there honoring her late husband, who had passed away 18 months prior, and that their family had come together and had been really strong, and they just wanted to honor a piece of what they had celebrated together, which was, time on the water together, being out in nature and just being a family. So her planning this trip was kind of honoring that aspect of their relationship. David Sr. said that his wife had also passed a few years prior, and the two of them kind of bonded over a mutual understanding of loss and grief. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
David Jr. was a mechanic by trade, and he and Max bonded over their love of cars and boats while they were playing pool together. Again, like I said, this man is in his 30s, so maybe a little bit strange, but when you're on vacation, there's kind of a more the merrier vibe. So maybe that's just what this was. And the two families had a mutual bond. We're not here to judge anyone. I have to play devil's advocate, but I am sure Max was eager to spend time with somebody that he could look up to a little bit, as he had just lost his father. So he's getting to talk with an older gentleman, but not too old, about stuff that he's interested in and learn a new thing that he was interested in. So breaking the barriers down for Max for sure. The two families planned to meet up again the following evening with the rest of the DeVries crew. Yvonne was even thinking about setting up her sister-in-law, Pat, with David Sr. because they were both single and around the same age, and went in Aruba, I suppose. The following night, they met at the pool table again, and Max and David Jr. played another game together. Yvonne was telling them about the family's plans to go parasailing the next day and some of the stuff that they had planned on the trip. And David Sr. asked if they could come along. He was like, that sounds really cool. Would love to join you guys if you're okay with that. And since they were all getting along, she saw no reason why not. While David Jr. and Max were playing pool, the topic of his father came up in discussion. And David Jr. sympathized with him by saying that he had lost his mother when he was very young. Now, it's not clear if he was speaking about his birth mother or his adopted mother, but if it was his adopted mother, that obviously conflicts with David Sr.'s story about him having lost his wife a few years prior.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, the two families met up on the beach outside of the resort and walked over to a little cabana called Sunshine Water Sports that hosted parasailing. They were taken out to the water a little ways to a sandbar 3 miles from the shore. They had their fun and they were brought back to the main beach. They then went on to the resort again, had some pizza for lunch, kind of hung out by the pool. But Max had noticed that the Sunshine Water Sports Cabana also rented jet skis. And he told his mom that he really wanted to try that out. David Jr. offered to go out with him after they had finished eating lunch, and the pair rented 2 jet skis for $40 for 45 minutes. They ripped around on the water, they looped around the sandbar that they had just visited, and returned the jet skis in a timely manner. Max, like I said earlier, was experienced in water sports and water equipment. From a mother's perspective, that this is probably why she let him go out on his own. That and he was technically with an adult. After this, the families went back to the resort pool and continued to enjoy each other's company. Yvonne had made a comment to David Sr. about how much Max seemed to like his son and that she was really happy that they had all met. But his response was something very strange and very chilling. He said, quote, "We had seen you playing at the pool with your kids, and we knew that we just had to meet you." End quote.
That
In
is
the
weird.
moment, she probably didn't think anything of it, but of course, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah. So they staged the entire meeting?
Hang on to that thought. Eventually, the families finished up and went their separate ways for the evening. The next morning, and I will say that I got conflicting dates for this. Some dates said May 12th, some dates said May 14th. I know that they were there for a week for their planned vacation, not what happened afterwards, but I don't know what date this actually happened. I just want to preface that because my sources say different things. The next morning on May, whatever date it was, Yvonne, Pat, and the kids made their way down to the pool, and Max was his usual goofy self. His sister and him were playing together, and David Sr. came down with a book in his hand and spotted them and walked over. He told Max how much fun David Jr. had had on the jet skis the day before, and he said that he was also interested in trying it if Max was up for showing him the ropes. He even offered to take Max out again, his treat. Initially, Yvonne had said no. Max had just been the day before, and even though she had no reason not to trust David Sr. at this point, they were planning to spend the day by the pool as a family. But of course, Max overheard this conversation and really wanted to go. And eventually she gave in and stayed by the pool while the two walked over to the beach cabana. She told her son that she would see them back in 45 minutes-ish to be safe and to have fun. But after about an hour had passed and they still hadn't returned, Yvonne became a little bit worried. But she pushed her feelings aside. She knew that they were out having fun. Max had just done the same run the day before, so she knew that they would be back anytime. But after a few more time passed, is that English? After a little bit more time passed? I don't
There you
know.
go.
I was like, after more time passed, it's not right.
More time is fine, but you said a few more time.
A few
That's
more
not right.
time. A few more time had passed.
Uh-huh.
But she couldn't ignore her worries anymore, and she went over to the cabana where they had rented the jet skis the day before. But instead of an employee being behind the counter, he instead was standing at the shoreline looking out onto the horizon with a pair of binoculars.
Uh-oh.
Yvonne asked if David Sr. and Max had returned, but from her gut feeling and from this employee's stature and what he was doing. It was very clear that they hadn't. Yvonne went back to the hotel to speak with the manager and to see if anyone had seen her son. Maybe he had come back and she had just missed him. Maybe he had gone up to the room to have a shower. She wasn't sure. But she gave the hotel manager the name of David Sr. and Jr., and they went to check their room first, but they weren't able to find David Jr. anywhere, despite having knocked on the door several times and like very loudly.
Did they go in?
No.
They should go in.
I don't know what the rules are in Aruba, but I know in Canada and the US, if there's like something happening and there's no response from the person in the room and it's a matter of life and death, I'm pretty sure that they're allowed to access.
Look, it don't even have to be a matter of life and death. I used to work at a hotel. That's our hotel.
Please tell me.
We have the key. We can go in.
Okay.
Like, they can sue you for breaching their privacy, but at that point, we don't give a fuck about them suing us. Like,
I'm not sure what stuff was like in Aruba, but that's
Yeah.
not what happened. But they later learned that David Sr. had been found with the jet skis. And they were tied together, floating behind a boat that had brought David Sr. back to shore. But Max was nowhere to be found.
this was after they banged on the door.
Yes. So
Okay.
David Jr. was nowhere to be found. David Sr. came down to the pool and was like, hey, my son had so much fun with you at the
Mhm.
jet skis the day before. Let's go out. My treat.
Mhm.
So they couldn't get a hold of David Jr. and David Sr. was at a water with Max.
Right. And then, does she see him come back, or he's just back and he's like, hi, I'm back. Here's the boats, but I don't have your son. Or did she see the boat bring him back?
He saw the She saw the boat bring David Sr. back, but at this
Okay.
point, they haven't seen David Jr.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just making sure that he didn't like smuggle the
Mhm.
child back and like shove him into somebody else's arms. No,
Mhm,
she saw
mhm.
the boat.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct. So she's
So any
standing at the
smuggling
shore
took place out of
like a
sea.
worried fucking mom, and yes, is seeing this rescue boat come back with the two jet skis, this man who took her son out to sea, and
Yeah.
nothing else. We will talk about David Jr. in a second, but that's what's happening here. Like I mentioned earlier, Max was very experienced with water equipment. So she didn't think anything of him going out onto the water. And David Sr. had been found with the jet skis together floating, but Max wasn't with him. So that's why they all came back on this boat. The boat that brought
So
him
what the
back
fuck
to
is his
shore
story?
told him, a boat brought him back to shore, and he told him that the jet skis, or one of them, had stopped working, and that Max, being the experienced seaman that he was, jumped into the water and tried to see what he could do to get the jet ski to start working again. David Jr. heard a loud thump before seeing Max drift away. Maybe he hit his head while he was trying to fix the machine, but Yvonne was like, why the fuck didn't you go after my kid? And David Sr. responded with, quote, we agreed not to speak, end quote. What?
What the fuck? First of all, okay.
I knew Sierra was mad. I was like, hang on.
I am not an experienced whatever
Seaman.
the fuck. Yeah. I was a seaman, but I'm not experienced.
We've talked about this on so many episode. Sierra is not manning your boat, guys. Don't
I'm
trust her with this.
I know nothing about the mechanics of a jet ski, but I do know that to fix it, you don't get in the water, because I've been on a broken one before. Like, almost all of it gets fixed on the top, guys, not on the bottom. You don't go under it. It's like panels that come off the top, like a fucking motorcycle almost, right? Like, you can like move the fucking seat. That's where the shit is. What does he need to go under the water for? No reason. Okay, number 2, if you hear a thump and a kid starts drifting out to sea, you fucking grab him. Like, you don't need to be an experienced seaman to know that. You don't let people drift. Okay. And number 3, why the fuck did you decide not to speak to a child? What is happening there? Like, we agreed not to. What are you, like, fucking
55.
I don't even know.
This man is 55. This child
makes no
is 14
sense.
years old.
His story is awful. Where are the cops?
Sierra said it best, guys. Yvonne was obviously very surprised by the statement and couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had trusted this grown-ass man with her child in the water, and she noticed something very strange.
Okay, wait. Also, do they not have fucking life jackets? Because you're supposed to have life jackets when you're on a jet ski. All right, continue.
You're supposed to have life jackets when you're on anything at water, hence why I had to buy a life jacket for my paddleboard test. You are supposed to have some sort of life-preserving thing on you at all times. Oh my God, why? You are supposed to have some sort of life-preserving thing with you at all times on the water. So, yes, very strange. Even if he had somehow become unconscious and floated out to sea, he would have still been above the water in these following moments. So, put a pin in that. Yvonne was shocked and surprised and horrified at this man's responses. And she also noticed something strange. That David Sr. had scratches along his upper arms and along the top of his head. When the police arrived, they escorted Yvonne and David Sr. to the station to answer some questions. Yvonne immediately asked them to perform some sort of DNA test on whatever was under David Sr.'s fingernails, as well as to perform a polygraph test. She said that she would gladly pay for it, but the Aruban investigators completely brushed her off, saying, quote, that they were not America. And even more shocking, they allowed David Sr. to take a shower before answering all of their questions, possibly washing off key evidence.
You are allowing this man to take a shower? That's ridiculous, but fine. How many minutes while he was showering did you search for the fucking kid? There's still a kid in the water, guys. What the hell? What is happening right now?
Good points. Sierra's
Don't
making
go to
a lot of
Aruba.
gestures.
Okay.
But, well,
Fuck
for
Aruba.
those that are not on YouTube, she's pissed.
I'm just... this is one of those times. It's like, I'm a better detective. Okay? Like, I don't give a fuck what kind of detective you are. I'm better than that. Okay? I know that much. This is awful.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's heartbreaking, and we'll talk about it at the end, but Natalie Holloway happened a year after this and got the same fucking investigation. Like, just what? If not worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very disturbing. Like Sierra said, there's still a kid at sea here. You're possibly washing off key evidence. They weren't even thinking that there had been a crime committed at this time. They just thought it was some sort of terrible accident. Either way, there is a missing child. And a 3-day search would ensue, along with the help of the Aruban Coast Guard, helicopters, and Marine planes. But the search was tragically called off after nothing was found. According to transcripts, David Sr. was never considered to be a suspect despite inconsistencies in his retelling of the story and Yvonne's pleas. On one day, he stated that the two had agreed to float while holding on to their own craft with a rope and staying together after one of them had stopped working. When David Sr.'s had stopped and Max let go of the rope and floated away. No, both of the jet skis were returned, sir, but okay. In a separate report, he said that
Also-
Max... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If there
No.
are ropes and there are 2 jet skis and only one of them isn't working,
You can
guess what?
tie the other one to it and go to shore.
Fucking tow the other one.
I know.
And Max would know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredibly frustrating and inconsistent and makes no fucking sense. In a separate report, David Sr. said that Max was sitting on the watercraft, the jet ski, and that he had looked up, and then suddenly Max had jumped off and started swimming to shore to find help, and that he must have gotten lost at sea or drowned. I have 3 different stories from you, sir. 3.
All of them involve you not chasing after a fucking child.
And all
who's
of you involve
floating
being
off
the
in the
last person
ocean.
to see a child, so none of it is good.
You saved the child. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care if you die doing it. You saved the fucking child.
Or you at least try.
Yeah.
Like, we agreed not to speak and I let him float away. What the fuck does that mean? No. That's why the wine was needed. Twisted humans. I'm pissed. While the search for Max remained, David Sr. and Jr. and the DeVries family were not allowed to leave the island. But obviously, this is more of an inconvenience for the David squared family, because why would Max's family want to leave without a part of them? They were completely devastated. On May 18th, they were officially given the okay to leave, and the Aruban authorities called off the search, stating that Max was, quote, lost at sea. And I can't even imagine for a family that loved the water so much together becoming a place of tragedy for them. Like, that's just so devastating. Like, can you imagine having to leave an island without your son? Like, just like it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
I'd still be there.
Like, it's
neither would
heartbreaking.
fucking David, Russell, Stacy, too many first names.
Yeah, well, he would already be dead in the ocean because of Sierra, if that was her kid. That's a different problem. Yvonne did nothing wrong in this situation.
Listen,
I'm just pleading with the fact that this is what the cards that she's been dealt. She's lost her husband, now she's lost her son.
So many crimes for my children. You have no idea.
I think the twisted humans do have an idea. It's heartbreaking. It's unfathomable. And like Sierra said, those people would not be walking. Like, I can't put myself in Yvonne's shoes enough to understand the shock, the horror, the disgust, the anger that she must be feeling. And the fact that she put herself out there to suggest what might have happened and like be like, I will pay for it. I just need to know that my son's case is being taken seriously. And it really felt like it wasn't, which is really upsetting. And never fuck with Sierra, if anyone is wondering. Or me, because you have to deal with me if you fuck with her children. So but heartbreaking. Yvonne now believes that her family was targeted by these men who had said that they had told her earlier in the week before her son's disappearance that, quote, "We were looking out our bedroom window and we saw you playing with your kids and knew we just had to meet you." That's where it started. She said that they stalked us out there, adding to the police that they looked for the man's son, David Jr., who did not show up until 10 minutes before his father was brought back to shore, stating that he had been so intoxicated that he had passed out. So intoxicated that you didn't hear people banging on your hotel door? Quote.
So why? Like, I know you're on vacation, but all alone, you're just gonna get fucking
And
shit-faced
it
drunk.
was like the afternoon. So it's like
Yeah.
either you're shit-faced from the night before or you got drunk in the morning. Either way, it's not good.
mean, you're on vacation, that's fine. Like, if you're with friends,
I have
not
never
by
been
your
so
fucking self.
blackout drunk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that I wouldn't hear somebody knocking on my door.
Well, we've never been to Aruba. But again, that would be together, not
Yeah.
fucking alone.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be involved in a child's disappearance. But
Also, we're never going to fucking Aruba because
Yeah,
fuck this place.
based off of my 2 true crime knowledges of this place,
Yeah,
no.
we're not going.
No, we're not going. Sorry. We'll go to Mexico. Mexico
Yeah.
seems okay still.
Aruba is blacklisted.
Yeah, all inclusive, anyone? Yeah, not here. She strongly believes that her family was targeted. She said, quote, "At first you get these red flags and these signals and these instincts everyone talks about, and I ignored them." She said that the 2 men had told her different stories of why they were in Aruba. Originally, they had said that the son's mother had died a year ago, and then during a pool game, they said that the son's mother had died a year before when he was a baby. Either way, it was like they were trying to mirror our tragedy so that I would believe and feel sorry for them and that it would catch me off guard. She had also said that they were disturbed by the fact that the man did not try to talk to Max as he floated out to sea and out of sight, saying that they made an argument not to speak to one another. What does that even mean? "When I saw Max for the last time, he was floating very calmly," said David Sr., "moving now and then, but he did not try to swim. We did not have any eye contact, and when he did not say anything, I did not say anything. We did not try to swim. We did not have any eye contact, and we said not to say anything to each other." End quote. That's not even like a legible sentence. Like, I struggled to get through that, minus the yawning from me being tired, but what?
Yeah, that was a lot of repetition and like, what are you even trying to say? It almost sounds like he's trying to say, like what I am inferring from it is it sounds like he's trying to say Max wanted to complete suicide. And he
That's what I
was
took
like,
too.
okay, fine. Like, I'll let you. Like, I understand you're sad. I'll just let you.
And
But
in
like,
what
first of all,
fucking
why the
world
fuck
would you let
Yeah.
a 14-year-old boy? No,
Yeah.
you'd be like, "You're gonna get past this heartache. I'm sorry
Yeah.
you're going through this. I'm gonna be a supportive adult in this situation.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a fun rest of our vacation." That would be the appropriate response to this. Not whatever the fuck happened out here.
Yeah, and also like, because I could see if maybe they were out there, something happened, and Max said something like, "You're not my dad," or
Mhm.
something
Yeah,
like,
he tried to
"I
be
don't want you to
fatherly and it
fucking
set
talk
him
to
off.
me.
Yeah.
You're not my dad. Like, leave me the fuck alone." You know, even so angry as I'd rather float out to sea than fucking talk to you. I would rather die than fuck. You're not my dad. And I can understand why David would be like, "All right, I won't talk." But even in that scenario, you grab the twerpy little kid by his fucking life jacket because he's 14 and he doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know the decision he's making. You're the fucking adult. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter even, and I doubt this is what happened, but it sounds like that's what he's trying to infer.
And
So
I
I'm
know
just
that
saying
this is
it's
saying a
not an
lot,
excuse.
but if I was responsible for somebody else's child and some
Yeah.
freak accident occurred, you better believe that I would die trying to save that kid. Like, you
I
don't
would
just be
die
like,
trying to save a kid that I saw while I was walking down the street in the fucking
yeah,
water.
like that's
Okay.
bullshit.
It's
Yeah,
a fucking kid. I
yeah.
don't care whose kid it is. I'm going
I'm
to
gonna
try to save it.
try. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fucking bullshit. Like, this whole thing sucks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until in 2005 that Yvonne actually found somebody that was interested in reopening her case outside of Aruba. That was Lieutenant Corey Williams at the Lavanya Police Department in Michigan, and he said that he looked over the reports. Quote, he believed that there was evidence that suggested that there was more to the story. The first time I saw it, one of the things that jumped out to me didn't make sense. Based on what I found, they weren't being truthful or giving a full story. Lieutenant Williams looked up the information on the men and their background, and he declined to comment on any of it. He said that if the police in Aruba had looked any further into these men's backgrounds, that it would have prompted a further investigation. He said apparently in the police statement in 1981 by David Jr., he told police then that he had been a victim of his dad in crimes against children. That was all that was reported. That's all that's been released. But Max's file was given over to the FBI, and the case still remains open to this day. So
Where
from
the fuck
that,
are
this
these
man
3 named assholes today?
has a really fucking shady background that somehow allowed him to adopt this other child
Yeah.
at whatever age, and it was all just swept under the rug. That's what I took from that.
Where are they today?
No one
They
knows.
just let them
Like,
fucking
basically,
go.
like, they're protected, right? Because the FBI has a case opened against them in the United States, but in Aruba, they were cleared to leave the country. So it's like you can have a case against them in the United States, but if they didn't technically reoffend in the United States, there's not really an area where you can investigate them. And I am opening their names onto our episode where many podcasts have chose not to name their names because it's a pressure thing. You are fucking responsible in some fucking way. You were the last person to see this child almost 20 years ago. 20 years ago, basically, as of last month. Like, it's disgusting.
Goodness.
So his case is still open with the FBI. Yvonne has taken her grief and has made a positive contribution in any way that she can to families in need. For example, in the first year after her son's disappearance, she opened a fundraising community in her husband's and her son's memory called Max to the Millions. That first year, they donated all of their proceeds to a family who had had 2 twin boys that were born prematurely. So there was a number of doctor's appointments and hospital bills to be able to get these boys to term. So she's trying to do amazing things with a tragedy in her life. It has just been 20 years since Max's disappearance, and I really hope that one day this family receives the answers that they deserve and some sort of closure. The what ifs are always the most haunting and the most heartbreaking in any of the cases that we cover on the show. And like I said, the Natalie Holloway case. Well, this case happened literally 1 year in May before the Natalie Holloway disappearance. And we know how poorly the Aruban investigators handled that case. We always knew that it was Jordan van der Sloot and that it should have been taken seriously and investigated further. The fact that he was the last person to see them alive and David Sr. is the last person seen Max alive. Like it feels like a pattern that should not repeat itself. It should not have taken Natalie's family almost 20 years to figure out what had happened to their daughter and who was possibly responsible. So I'm really hoping that these men come forward with some sort of truth one day, or that some sort of evidence is found in what actually happened to Max DeVries. And that is the really heartbreaking disappearance of 14-year-old Max DeVries and the DeVries family. It makes me sick. Like, this man absolutely either sold him at sea, hurt and killed him. Like, something happened.
Yeah. I almost feel like he wanted him to be a son to him. But then, like, where
It
the
felt
fuck
targeted.
is he now?
Yeah. It felt very targeted.
Yeah.
And if his current son, who was 36 at the time, was a victim of some sort of
Right.
crime back when he was adopted because his dad is a fucking asshole pervert, maybe Max is somehow a part of that repeating
Right.
itself. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's heartbreaking. And I'd never heard of the story until seeing it on the Unseen Truth podcast. And I even messaged Jen. I was like, can I cover this for my next unsolved case? Because this fucking sucks. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that this poor boy has not gotten more coverage. It sucks that his family wasn't taken seriously. But again, the Holloway family had to hire a private investigator in the same
Right.
light. Like, this is the last person your kid was seen with. Something horrible happened to them, and then nothing. So, hence why Sierra and I are
fucking
never going to
crazy.
Aruba. But like,
Never.
It's blacklisted. If you guys go, we need
Yeah.
proof of life when you leave, and we need proof of
If
life
you
when
guys
you
go,
return.
don't. Yeah. Just fucking don't.
Just don't go. Don't go to Aruba.
Yeah.
No, like, it's heartbreaking. And it's like one of those cases that you very clearly have a picture of what happened, but you also have no evidence and no proof.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense after, even if it was an accident, quote unquote accident, after all of the things that he admitted, why they were just like, okay, it's over now. Like, no, it's not over until we find the child. What the
Like,
fuck?
if something horrible happened and say, like, Max drowned and you tried to swim after him and you couldn't save him and you went back to the jet skis and you went back to shore, like, surely his body would be found. Like, I know
Yeah.
the ocean is a very scary, scary, crazy place, but surely, like, 3 miles from the shoreline, somewhere in that vicinity, after a 3-day search, he would be found.
Yeah.
That's why I think that this was purposeful, that he was killed and that he was, like, pushed under the water to be eaten by sea creatures, because there's no other way that makes sense to me.
I don't even think he was put under the water. I think he was taken out.
A lot of people,
I
especially
think they kidnapped him.
a lot of people, especially in the Reddit community, believe that he was sold, like, at sea.
Yeah.
But we're curious to know what our twisted humans think. Either way, this is incredibly heartbreaking and senseless, and like, it's just one of those cases that are like, it seems so cut and dry that it's like, why is this even unsolved still?
Yeah.
Like, this
exactly.
man had something to do with it. I understand that the United States and Canada have more resources than an island like Aruba, but I just feel like it wasn't taken seriously from the get-go. Based on the fact that the transcripts never mentioned that he was a suspect or that there was a person of interest or anything, and the fact that his statements were constantly conflicting. It's like, what did you do
Yeah.
out there? And I read somewhere that when they were officially given the green light to leave the island, that David Sr. had asked where he can mail flowers for Max's disappearance. And it's like,
Ew.
it's the grossest fucking thing I've ever heard. If you had something to do with this child's disappearance, first of all, you suck. Second of all, you suck even more for like wanting to taunt them with this. And if you didn't have something to do with this disappearance, you're gross for even saying that. Like, you're already saying that something bad has happened that he's not going to return. So, you know,
Mm.
it's heartbreaking.
Oh, I don't like it.
He was such a cute kid. Like, really, really just like the cutest, like, best light spirit that you can possibly picture. And I can't even imagine the heartache that this family has gone through, having lost the dad in the family and now their son. Like, just
Yeah.
so Yvonne has a lot of safety tips and a lot of advice for families going on vacation. And one of the biggest takeaways is never fucking be afraid to be rude. You don't owe anyone anything anywhere. If your spidey senses are tingling, if something feels wrong, decline.
Yeah.
Hard decline. Hard decline. No. I'm going to keep an eye on my kid at all times. And I'm not victim blaming at all. She did nothing wrong. These people very clearly targeted her and her family and won her over and played on very, very raw wounds in this family and took advantage of that. So I just want to be clear that I'm not victim blaming at all, because I can't even imagine. And that is the very, very, very sad disappearance and unsolved story of Max DeVries. And I will share in the show notes any numbers and emails that you can call if you have any information. So
Oh,
I know
what a
it's every
mess.
every parent's worst nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
just, you should be able to trust families when you're out on vacation and what people are saying. And
This is why I don't have friends.
uh,
Fuck everybody.
this is why it is the greatest compliment in my life, people, that I shared a room with Sierra's daughter. That's how much she trusts me, okay? Me and
Yeah.
sis had good times, but I'm just like, that's so scary. Like, that's so scary. Like, I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
I
It's
remember
awful.
making friends with people on vacation as a kid, or like when me and my family would go camping and like being like, can I go hang out at their campsite? And my mom
Yeah.
being like, fucking no. Like, I don't know these parents. Like, no. Glad you made best friends with them while you're on the playground, but I don't know who they are. Like, again, there's nothing wrong with the decisions that Yvonne made, but I understand that fear even back then with us as children in the early 90s, like just being like, no,
Yeah.
and not do that. So if your
Mm.
parents say no, guys, as a kid, and you're an adult listening to this, like, just understand why. Like, it's instances like this as to why.
Yeah.
Something was tingling. They were like, don't feel good about it. I'm going to be an asshole right now for saying no, but like, it's sad. So I really hope that there's answers one day, but after 20 years, it feels really, really bleak that he's going to be found alive, if at all. So
Mm.
sorry, guys. Unsolved cases are always really hard, but
These men suck.
our thoughts, yeah, they fucking suck. And like, it's disgusting that they had a history before this and that just wasn't looked into. I understand that this crime was committed in another country and that there are limitations to what you can do within the United States, but like I don't know what the Aruban government laws are, but if you look into somebody else's past and they're responsible for crimes against children and then they're the last person to see a child alive, I feel like there needs to be something that can be done in that instance. I am not from Aruba. There's really not a lot from what I researched on Aruban laws available online. So if somebody knows other than myself, but between this case and the Natalie Holloway case, like something fucking needs to change on this tiny ass little island. Like, no more children can go missing here, guys.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this story. And I hope that somebody out there knows some sort of information and that Max's family will receive answers very, very soon. And thank you to Jen at the Unseen Truths podcast for introducing us to the story and for giving me the honor to tell it, because truly that is what it is when you spend months investigating a case and you're like, sure, take the reins from here. So hopefully we create enough noise that this gets some more attention. As of right now, it's just really fucking sad. So every parent's worst nightmare. Sierra, tell us something happy to get us out of this. Tell us something happy. What's going on in your life you're excited about is good?
I made my first monies today as
You
an
made your
esthetician.
first monies? Yay!
Yep.
Are you gonna put it in a frame?
I don't know. That's $20 fucking. I can use that. Like if it was $1, then yeah, probably. But 20, I don't know.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I posted myself on Facebook.
Socials.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, I need people to practice on, and some random stranger decided to come and get a facial today. So it was pretty cool.
And I'm sure they were so happy with their experience.
Yeah, they gave me $20. Must be happy.
That's awesome. That is the equivalent of like 35 Canadian dollars, guys. I'm jealous. No, I'm super happy for you. That's awesome. Much deserved. I feel like you need to take a scan of it and date it and put it somewhere in the pod studio. Manifest more good things to come.
Yeah.
My positive and something I'm looking forward to is the fact that I have a cousin sleepover planned this weekend. So I have one brother, for those of you that are new to the podcast, and him and I don't spend a whole lot of time together, but I have 4 built-in sisters with my cousins. So 2 of them are coming over on Saturday, and we're doing facials and having some wine and sitting by the pool at my mom and dad's place, and just we're having a cousin sleepover as 30-plus-year-olds. So it'll be super exciting and fun, and I'm very thankful for them. And as my whole family lives on the island, I'm excited they're coming to me. So
that sounds like fun.
Yeah. Both of them listen to the podcast, so shout out TJ and Tess. Hold on to your loved ones and always trust your gut. And by trusting your gut, you love the show, go leave a 5-star rating and review. And we hope you've enjoyed all of the crossovers and bonuses and collaborations that we've had. If there's anyone that you think that we would jive well with, or any case suggestions you may have, feel free to send them our way. We will see you next week for Sierra's cult episode. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alecia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.